Hi, I'm Casralian, and you're listening to the 8th episode of the AI era. In this shortcast, I aim to answer a question that has fascinated me since I was a kid. And that question is, how will AI change our world? Currently, I work as an AI researcher and co-founder of an AI startup. And in this podcast, I explore how AI will change people's life. I draw insights from my research and day-to-day experience as a founder in the AI technology to give you a perspective on how AI will shape our world. Alright, let's get started with this episode. One of the biggest fears people have today is that AI will replace their jobs, and understandably so. But what if I told you that AI could actually lead to 60 hours work weeks instead of 16? Throughout history, whenever humans invented revolutionary technologies, many believed, or at least hoped, that these advancements would reduce the amount of work we need to do. Yet, surprisingly enough, that hasn't always been the case. To better understand this, let's take a step back and explore some of the greatest technological breakthroughs in human history. And let's start with agricultural revolution. The agricultural revolution started at about 10,000 years ago when humans transitioned from being hunter-gatherers to farmers by using tools and techniques to cultivate land and produce their own food. At first glance, it may seem that agriculture reduced the amount of work we needed to do. After all, hunting a mammoth required tremendous effort and came with significant risks. Growing wheat, on the other hand, seemed more predictable and less physically demanding. But here's the twist. Agriculture made humans work more, not less. But why is that? The steady and reliable supply of food led to a significant increase in population. As population grew, the amount of work needed to sustain these larger communities also increased. Tasks such as tending to crops, irrigating fields, and processing food became more and more demanding and complex. What started as a solution for food security eventually resulted in even greater workloads, and agricultural societies expanded to meet the needs of their own growing population. So, if we solely consider the number of people who could live has increased as a result of the agricultural revolution, but that did not necessarily lead to people working less per capita. Fast forward to 18th and 19th centuries, and we meet the Industrial Revolution. Steam engines, factories, and machinery transformed the way humans worked. People moved from farms to cities, from manual labor to operating machines, and as a result, productivity skyrocketed. But did people work less? Again, the answer is no. If anything, the factory system demanded even more from workers. Long shifts, strict schedules, and tiring conditions became the new norm. Of course, at the same time, the productivity increased a lot and the economy grew in unprecedented rates. But as a result of that, we wanted more goods, more growth, and more everything, and the work expanded to match these new desires. Now, let's jump to the 20th century's IT revolution. Computers, software, and the internet changed everything about how we work. Here's an interesting and different aspect of this new revolution. For the first time, technology shifted us away from purely physical labor. Instead of breaking our backs, we started to interact with machines using our brains. Most modern jobs today are built around some form of computer work, whether you're an architect, an engineer, or a salesperson. If you look at it from the perspective of someone in the 19th century, they'd say we are not even working anymore. After all, we just sit at desks, type on keywords, and move some pixels around some screens. And yet, despite how much easier the nature of work has become, the amount of working hours hasn't dropped significantly. Why is that? The answer lies in a simple yet powerful dynamic. As technology enables us to produce more with the same amount of effort, we choose to produce more, not work less. This is a recurring theme in history. With agriculture, we grew more food to feed larger populations. With industry, we produced more goods to meet growing demand. And with IT, we created more services, more products, and more interconnected economies. We as humans are driven to want more. Technology increases productivity, but instead of reducing our inputs, which is the hours we work, we simply expand the outputs, which are the wealth, goods, and services that we consume. Now, here we are heading towards the AI era, which is a technological breakthrough unlike any that came before. As we discussed in previous episodes, AI has unique characteristics that separates it entirely from past advancements. AI doesn't just amplify physical labor or enhance mental tasks, it has the potential to replace much of the human work entirely. It is now easy to imagine a world where AI agentic systems handle almost every cognitive tasks that humans can do. And with robotics advancing alongside AI, even physical labor would eventually be automated. In such a world, the vast majority of what we call work could become obsolete. Humans may no longer need to work in the traditional sense. But will we stop working altogether? Here's where things get interesting. Even if AI handles all utility-focused work, there's one thing that AI can never replace. And no, it's not creative work, it is the value of human connections. That AI cannot definitely replace, by definition. We humans are inherently social creatures. We give a special value to things made by other humans, not because of their utility, but because of their human touch. Think about it. A handmade table sells for far more than a machine-made one, even if the machine-made table is sturdier. We pay thousands of dollars to see our favorite musicians perform live, even though we can stream their music with perfect audio quality at home. We cherish unique, imperfect pieces of art because they reflected the individuality of the artist. No matter how advanced AI becomes, there will always be demand for human-made products, experiences, and services. This is a kind of work that doesn't stem from necessity, but from our desire for connection and authenticity and meaning. So, getting back to our main question, will AI reduce the amount of work we do? Well, it somehow depends on how we would define the work, because the work in its traditional sense could vanish entirely in a decade or two, but we might be spending way more time on creating human-made services and products. After all, those would be the deciding factors in a post-scarcity world. If you want to get your hands on some human-made services, you should be providing some yourself in order to be able to afford it. And remember, there's no technology to boost productivity for providing human-made services, because the moment a technology touches an experience, it's not anymore human-made. So, deprived of productivity boosts, we might end up working even more. And that's how we could end up having 60 hours work weeks instead of 16 hours work weeks. But of course, in that case, the nature of work will be something unfamiliar to us now. The same way that our current work sounds very unfamiliar and unnatural for someone from 10,000 years ago or even a century ago. Alright, that was it. I'm Kasralian and you just listened to the 8th episode of the AI era. Stay tuned for the next episode and until then, adapt and evolve.